Why did the USSR ask to join NATO? The USSR, short for the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, was a socialist state in Eastern Europe and Northern Asia between 1922 and 1991. It comprised 15 republics and was ruled by a single-party communist government. The USSR was the primary antagonist of the United States during the Cold War. Its collapse in 1991 marked the end of the Cold War and the beginning of a new era in global relations. In the 1950s, the geopolitical landscape was dominated by the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. Tensions ran high between the two superpowers competing for global influence in a nuclear arms race. As a result, economic and military aid poured into the East and West blocs through the Marshall Plan and the Warsaw Pact. Additionally, several decolonization efforts took place in many parts of the world, bringing about significant changes in the international system. The Soviet Union had some motivations for joining NATO: increased security, access to new military and economic resources, and the potential benefits to their legitimacy. Joining NATO would have enabled the Soviets to become part of a collective defense system, allowing them to benefit from the resources of their Western allies. This would have also provided the Soviets with access to better military and economic resources, as well as a more fabulous presence on the international stage. Finally, by joining NATO, the Soviets could have increased their legitimacy in the eyes of the West and the world at large. The request by the Soviet Union to join NATO was ultimately accepted due to various factors. Firstly, there was a growing realization that the Cold War was unlikely to end and that the US and USSR would benefit from a shared collective defense system. Secondly, it was seen as a way to open up a dialogue between East and West and reduce the possibility of conflict. Finally, the US and its European allies were eager to have the Soviet Union join the organization to strengthen it. The request by the Soviet Union to join NATO had several implications during the Cold War and beyond. During the Cold War, the request helped to create the foundation for a period of détente and improved relations between the East and West. This allowed for the signing important agreements such as the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks and Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Agreement. In addition, it helped to create stability in Europe as the East and West became more integrated. Beyond the Cold War, the decision has further opened up dialogue and cooperation between the East and West, creating an environment of mutual understanding and cooperation.